And hello and welcome to Arts and Entertainment. I'm Deborah Gilbert, your host. And as always, thanks so much for being here. I hope you enjoy the show, as I hope you've enjoyed all the shows that I've brought to you. Well, we're going to highlight a fabulous writer, director, actor, and producer, and a co-director of a fabulous play that's happening. His name is Joe Barbera, and he's the co-director again of the production of A Bronx Tale, the musical that's playing at the Seven Angels Theater, which is based in Waterbury, Connecticut. So I'm thrilled that he's accepted my invitation to be a guest today. And Joe, thanks so much for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Deborah. Thanks for the invitation. I appreciate being here.
And Joe, you were kind enough to send me your bio today. What I like to do in the beginning of the show is introduce the viewership to the guests. So why don't you take us back? Tell us about yourself.
Oh boy. How much time you got, Deb?
Enjoy yourself. Share yourself with us.
You know what? Long story short, I'm a kid from New Smyrna Beach, Florida. I grew up in Central Florida. My parents were from New York. So, we were the one New York, Queens-based household in Central Florida as I was growing up. I went and studied television and film production at Syracuse and started off as the guy carrying the lights and all the heavy things at Entertainment Tonight, and one thing led to another, and I ended up moving in front of the camera, and then really musical theater has been sort of my mainstay for the last 15 years or so. I was lucky enough to play Danny Zuko on Broadway in Greece, and returned to Broadway with A Bronx Tale in several roles, and then took over the role of Sonny. That's about it. I did a soap opera on on NBC for about 5 years called Another World, but I'm just happy to be here, happy to be directing with my friend Janine Molinari, and I love the show, and got a beautiful opportunity to do it with Chaz Palminteri himself, with Robert De Niro, with Jerry Zaks, with Alan Menken. Tommy Mottola producing, Glenn Slater writing the lyrics. To create something was really special, and I feel very blessed to be a part of it.
Did you know when you were growing up that you wanted to be an actor? It said in your bio that at 13 you turned on the camera, got your friends together, did a film. Did you want to be in front of the camera, behind the camera? What started all of this?
There's a little part of me that wanted to be in front. I really wanted to create. I enjoyed creating the entertainment, and I thought if I create something good enough, I could just put myself in it. What ended up happening was I started off in that direction, and then ended up, becoming more of an actor, and the acting side sort of took hold more than the writing and directing and producing side. Now, at this point in my career, in my life, the writing and the directing and the producing side is really starting to take off. So I'm much more excited about that in a lot of ways. I love, it's much more exciting to me to make the decisions rather than be the guy that implements somebody else's decisions.
Did that happen as you were aging, what you just mentioned, the making
a lot of things happened as I was aging, Deborah, let me tell you.
Are you enjoying things now at your present stage in your career as compared to all the time coming to this point?
I like to think I've enjoyed a lot of it, but I will say that there have been times when I felt, wow, that's a great question. There have been times when I felt underused. I felt like my creative impulses were not used as efficiently as they could have been because I was just an actor. I would see something in a scene and I'd want to explore something or change it or point out this little aspect of it. And, when you're an actor, you really have to stay in your lane lots of times. Not always, but most of the time you're staying in your lane because there are people that are making those decisions and they're paid well to do that. And they all have egos, so you don't want to step on anybody's toes. But I do think now it's very exciting to be a part of A Bronx Tale and be directing it, as opposed to being an actor. When I started off in A Bronx Tale, I was part of the original world premiere production at the Paper Mill Playhouse in New Jersey, and then part of the original Broadway cast, and then was part of the first national tour. And at Paper Mill and Broadway, I didn't always play Sonny. I didn't always play the lead role. At one point, I played the biker, the biker that, if you're familiar with the movie, the biker gets beat up pretty badly. And I can't tell you how many times I would be laying on the stage or laying on the rehearsal floor. And Jerry Zaks, who was one of our co-directors with Bob De Niro, Jerry would say, "Let's take it from the kick." And I'm like, really? Do we have to take it from the kick? I'm getting kicked by Calogero. And, there were times when I was like, boy, I'd love to be on the other side of the table.
And you've mentioned Broadway and touring. What was it like to be on Broadway? I asked many performers what it's like. Everybody has a different story. What was it like for you?
Well, I think it's kind of like, when you ask a World Series champion, what's it like when you win the second World Series? The first World Series is exhilarating. Then, if you ask Tom Brady, he's won, 7 Super Bowls? How many, which one is the best? I'm sure he'd have a hard time answering that. It was a dream that I almost didn't think would ever really happen. I'm a very positive person, but it seemed so out of reach at one point in my life. And to then achieve it in Greece, many years ago, that was a moment. It was a moment that I thought it was another gift from God, and I was going to cherish it forever, not knowing if it would ever come back. To do it the second time, it felt different. It was fun. It was exhilarating, but I almost felt more like I really belonged there. Whereas the first time I was like, boy, do I belong here. So those are the differences, I think.
One of the reasons that you're here, that a colleague of yours and mine mentioned, I just have to have you as an interview, is what's happening at Seven Angels Theater right now, as you're the co-director and you're also an actor in the production of A Bronx Tale, the musical. Tell us about that.
Well, it's an amazing story. So A Bronx Tale, famous, iconic movie from 1993, starring Chaz Palminteri and Robert De Niro. And many people don't know, it is Chaz's life story. Chaz wrote the movie, and his real name is Calogero, which is the name of the little boy in the movie, who also grows up to be a teenager in the film. So it's Chaz's life story that he wrote as a one-man show. And De Niro went to see it in Hollywood as Chaz was doing it in a small theater, playing all of the characters by himself. And they decided to make a movie together. So they got together with Alan Menken and Glenn Slater and Jerry Zaks years and years later and made it into a musical. So this is a musical extravaganza right here at Seven Angels. I was part of the original Broadway cast. Michael Barra was also part of the original Broadway cast. He's joining us. So we have original Broadway cast members. And we're bringing that experience here to Seven Angels. It's a fantastic story. It's a story about a coming of age. It's a coming of age story about a boy named Calogero, who really was Chaz, in the Bronx, and he's torn between two father figures: the father his actual father who loves him, and this mob boss who also loves him. And who's not setting necessarily the greatest example for him, but really does care about the kid. So the kid is kind of torn between these two father figures, and coming of age, trying to make decisions and make choices in your life about which way your life is going to go. And that's really what it is. It's a fantastic story. It's really funny. It's got some really wacky characters, but at its heart, it's a story about family. It's a story about love, and it's a story about the choices that shape your life.
How is it now? It's been mentioned, Seven Angels Theater, several times in this show, and probably some of my viewership doesn't know it's in Waterbury, Connecticut. What's it like playing there?
Wonderful space, nice big stage for a regional theater. Samina De Laurentiis is our artistic director. It's a beautiful place, beautiful lobby. We're having a great time. They're putting the set together as we speak. So I haven't seen the set yet, except in drawings, but we're very excited about it. Seven Angels is wonderful. It's a theater. It's surrounded by parkland. It's a beautiful place to come to, and it's a more intimate space than you would know on Broadway. It's about 350 seats, something like that. So everyone has a great seat. Everyone is right up near the action, and there's a lot of action in Bronx Tale. There's explosions. There's gunshots. There's fights. You really get a little bit of everything. There's love songs. I always say that A Bronx Tale is the musical for guys who don't think they like Broadway musicals. So if your wife's out there and your wife loves to go see Broadway musicals, and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I got to go see a Broadway musical with my wife. Well, this is the one for you guys. This is the one. Your wife's gonna love it. It's got beautiful music. It's got fun music, and yet you're gonna identify with a lot of these guys.
I'm Deborah Gilbert. You're tuned into Arts and Entertainment. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
Come on in, come on in.
Welcome to Sure Things.
Welcome to this week's edition of the Pete Mazzetti Show.
Hello and welcome to Arts and Entertainment.
Connecticut has lost $35 million in gross earnings taxes because cable TV providers are losing customers.
Yet cable companies continue to enjoy a tax exemption on their equipment that their telecom competitors don't get.
At the same time, the telecoms don't pay gross earnings tax.
This doesn't make sense.
It's time to level the playing field.
Make everyone pay their fair share.
Please support sustainable funding for digital equity,
Community access,
and the CTN network.
And welcome back to Arts and Entertainment. I'm Deborah Gilbert, your host, and as always, thanks so much for being here. My conversation continues on with Joe Barbara. Joe, people will have heard me before say he's the co-director of A Bronx Tale, the musical at Seven Angels Theater, and also an actor in the play itself. Tell us what your responsibilities are as the co-director and as the performer. What's it like to be both? Can you juggle both?
I hope so, because we're doing it. So come see the show, and then you can give me a review. How's that?
Okay.
How did you do as a director? How did you do as an actor? Well, it's wonderful because I'm not doing it alone, right? So my friend Janine Molinari, who has worked at Seven Angels for many years, who's staged so many productions here, from Jesus Christ Superstar to Footloose, Tommy, and she's done amazing work here. So Janine invited me to join her in this venture because I did the Broadway show and I did the world premiere and I did the national tour. So Janine handles the choreography. She's an amazing choreographer. And I kind of bring some of my experience with the show and really understanding the story very well to the scenes and to the moments that I think are important for the characters. We make a great team. So when I'm on stage, she's watching me and saying, that doesn't work or that needs to go over here. And then when she's choreographing, I can sit back and look at the picture as well. So if you're doing it by yourself on stage, I think it would be very tough. But I have a partner, so I have a partner. It would be my partner. That's my little John Travolta impersonation. It's not so bad. It's actually a lot of fun.
The play, I believe, is April and May. Am I correct?
April 26th is our opening night through May 19th.
Okay,
Friday,
great.
Saturday, and Sunday. Friday, 2 shows Saturday, and then 1 show Sunday. And I should also say, many people are familiar with A Bronx Tale from the film, But this is a musical. It's the same story, and you're going to love it. But the music, the composer for the show is Alan Menken, who I mentioned earlier. But if you don't know the name off the top of your head, you know his music. Alan Menken is one of the most incredible, prolific, award-winning, decorated composers of our time. Alan has 8 Academy Awards. Alan wrote the musical Little Shop of Horrors, then went on to write The Little Mermaid, went on to write Beauty and the Beast, went on to write Aladdin, went on to write Newsies, went on to write Pocahontas, I believe. I mean, I don't have his whole resume in front of me, but I think that's pretty good. He just is an incredible composer. He wrote all the music for this, and the music is spectacular. It is spectacular. The work that Alan did, Glenn Slater wrote the lyrics, and then Chaz Palminteri himself wrote the book. So, I mean, the team putting this together was incredible. And Robert De Niro, of course, co-directed with Jerry Zaks. And Bob has his stamp of approval on all of this.
When the show wraps, do you have plans for something else for the rest of 2024? What's your calendar look like?
I'm sorry, you broke up just a little bit.
Oh, that's okay. What's your calendar look like? Once you wrap this show, what are your plans for the rest of 2024?
Oh, fantastic. I'm going to be playing Gyp DeCarlo at the Sacramento Music Circus. I don't know the name, in Sacramento. Gyp DeCarlo in the musical Jersey Boys later this summer. And then I have a film that I wrote and I'm producing that we're in development for right now and having some talks with some big companies. I can't say too much, but it's I have an offer for an option deal for it from one company, and we're also in negotiations with another. So it's, by the way, Deborah, when this film gets made, I need to come back and we need to talk about it. Would that be okay?
Oh my God, I would love to have you come back. That would be great.
Deborah, we need to see this film. Everybody needs to see this film. It's a true story. It's it's inspirational. It's true. It's everything we all need right now. Our society needs to see it.
One of the things in your bio, I loved your bio, so I'm going to keep on referring to it, was that you were in Las Vegas for 8 years. What, was it the Jersey Boys you had mentioned?
Jersey Boys, yes.
Yeah. How was it to be, as you mentioned, 8 shows a week times 8 years? What was it like performing that for that long and being in Las Vegas doing it?
Well, I have to say, it was a blessing. It was a gift from God. I mean, as an actor, to be able to play a principal role in a Broadway musical, even though it was the same musical that was on Broadway, it's just we moved it to Las Vegas. The same director, same choreographer, it's the same same production. To be able to do a Broadway show, whether it's in Vegas or somewhere else, for 8 years, is a gift from God. I have a wife and 3 boys, and to be able to support your family as an actor without looking for the next gig, I considered the whole experience a blessing, and it was just fantastic. I actually also somehow it was an amazing experience. I used to teach during the day. I used to teach at Bishop Gorman High School in Las Vegas, which, if anyone follows high school sports, one of the best sports schools in the country, next to Don Bosco Prep, where my sons go. But I taught the television and film production there. I kind of created a TV and film program, and I'm very proud of that work. It was very rewarding. Great kids, great administration, great environment in Las Vegas. And at this Catholic high school, we started something that continues today. It started a television and film program, and I'm very proud of that too. So that was during the day, and then I went and did the show at night.
To the aspiring actor that's out there either struggling or making it, that's trying to do what you have done and have that longevity through many years, what would your advice be? I mean, you went to college. What should somebody do to be able to make it?
Wow. There's not. I was going to be funny and just say don't, but the world is different now than it was, different from when it was when I started out. When I started out, it was really about just being able to do the job and fit the role. Now, there's most people who are in this industry, who are actors or especially musical theater, have gone to school for musical theater, have gone to college for musical theater. There's a lot of great programs out there. But you got to find what it is. You got to find your niche. You have to find what it is you do. And maybe you're the everyman, or maybe you're the tough Italian guy in musicals, or maybe you're the ingenue, or maybe you're the always the best friend. But you should always look at yourself like, how can I market myself? What niche do I fill? And I think that's a great question you can ask yourself. Where am I going to see myself in this industry? I think that's a big question to be answered by everybody who wants to be in the industry. And that was a serious answer. I really wanted to just be funny, but and then the rest is just it's kind of a silly business. I mean, things work that you don't expect to work, and things that are going to work don't end up not working. So. It's a little silly at times, but thanks be to God, I've been able to navigate some of those rough waters. And the other part of it is, if you have a partner, if you have a wife or someone with you who understands the ups and downs, the ins and outs, the highs and lows. The one thing about this business, the highs are very high, but the lows are pretty low. Most people kind of go along at an even keel, but this is not an even keel. This is real high or real low. And so if you have somebody that can sort of balance that out, that always helps.
And that's a good thing you're mentioning. You are married and have children. How are you able to balance both worlds?
Well, the truth is, I mean, my wife does that. She understands what this business is like. She didn't in the beginning. She's over the years, she's come to understand what the business is like. So she really is very flexible, and like I'm up in Connecticut for 3 weeks, and I went on tour with the Bronx Tale all over the country, and she held the fort down. So you need somebody to balance that out. It's not easy, but we make it work, and you have to have two people that are really, really willing to make that work, and that's why I think a lot of marriages fail. But you gotta, once you're in, you're in.
Now, you're dabbling in many things at your age, and I won't ask you how old you are. Do you foresee yourself still being a performer as you get older?
Well, I was looking forward, and when I think by the time I'm 40, I should, maybe I'll hang it up. I don't know. Just kidding. The performance part of it doesn't mean as much to me. I enjoy it. It's fun. It's like the icing on the cake, but it's not the cake. The cake to me is creating something. The cake is co-directing this production. The performance is just a little icing on it. The cake to me is writing and producing this film that I'm about to do. Yeah, that's the cake. The icing is performing if it works out.
We are starting to run out of time. I know you're excited about this play.
Say it isn't so, Deborah. Say it isn't so.
I know.
Listen,
I'm so thrilled that you were able to be here. Thank you so much again.
Well, I have to honestly say, if you get an opportunity, please come see A Bronx Tale. It's an amazing story. The story about a boy torn between the father he has and the father figure that he wants to be. It'll rip your heart out. It'll inspire you, and I'm really proud of the work we're doing. Seven Angels Theater with Janine Molinari and Samina De Laurentiis and people from the Broadway production. This is going to be special. This will be special, and I'd love it if anybody who comes to see the show, stop by afterwards, see me and say, "Hey, I saw you on Deborah's show." And
right. Well, I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your day. I'm so excited for this play for you and for everybody there. I wish you tremendous success.
And we'll see you there too, right, Deb?
You're absolutely right. I will
So
be
people
there.
come, they can not only meet me, they can meet Deborah, the one and only Deborah Gilbert.
Okay. Well, thank you again for coming. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks.
And thank you all for being here. I hope you've enjoyed the show. I'm Deborah Gilbert. You've been tuned into Arts and Entertainment. In case you need to reach me, I'm at artsandentertainment@mail.com. Well, I hope you have a super day today. Thanks so much for tuning in, as always. I'll see you next time.